Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Monday, May 4th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sunshine today, a beauty on the way, high 72. Tonight and overnight, a few passing clouds, low 59, and then Tuesday even warmer, sunshine, high 82. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 45 partly cloudy in Valley Cottage up in Rockland. It's 48 and clear in Colts Neck over in New Jersey, and it's 46 and clear right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
America's mayor fighting pneumonia in a Florida hospital. A jet flying into Newark clips a car on the turnpike. A teen TikTok trend takes Manhattan and Scientologists are not happy. What's with all the needles in the sand on the beach of Coney Island? And Sixers fans shaking in their shoes that will buy up all their tickets. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. We got the distressing news last night that former Mayor Rudy Giuliani is in the hospital in critical condition. It was spokesman Ted Goodman who put out a statement. It was yesterday afternoon. Did not say how long the 81-year-old has been in the hospital, but he did say that, or at least told us at 77 WABC, that Rudy has pneumonia. Mayor Giuliani in his statement said that he's a fighter who faces every challenge in his life with unwavering strength, and that he's fighting with the same level of strength as we speak. Now, we were told also last night, overnight into this morning, that he has taken a turn for the better. So Giuliani had hosted his online show, America Mayor Live, Friday night from Palm Beach, Florida, where he lives now. And as he opened the show, he coughed and his voice sounded a little more rapsy than usual. And he told his audience, his YouTube audience, that his voice was a little under the weather, so he wouldn't be able to speak as loudly as he usually does. So he said he would get closer to the microphone, and then he continued on with the show. The statement went on to wish the former mayor strength and good health and for a full recovery to a man who has devoted his life to public service. Of course, we are all feeling the same way, and as soon as we have any update on the mayor's condition again, who's in the hospital with pneumonia, but we're told he's doing better than he was yesterday, so that's the good news. We'll pass that information on to you. 5:02. A United Airlines plane clipped a light pole and a tractor trailer on the turnpike yesterday afternoon while landing at Newark. United Airlines Flight 169 descended onto the runway at Newark. This was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon when it hit that light pole along the turnpike, then clipped this tractor trailer. Now, if you've ever driven on the turnpike and then watch as these jets go to land at the runway, sometimes you have that moment of like, wow, they are really close to the cars. Well, apparently in this case, too close to the cars. Here's what it sounded like in air traffic control.
They felt something over the threshold, and there's a hole in the side of the airplane. So I'm going to get you on the runway here in a moment. They said it was right at the threshold.
Yes, so New Jersey State Police a short time later releasing a statement saying the plane's landing tire and underside hit the pole and the tractor trailer. The pole then fell onto a Jeep that was traveling on the turnpike. The tractor trailer driver, there's video of this. It's very intense, but the good news is he's going to be okay. Non-life-threatening injuries. He was taken to the hospital.
It's pretty scary.
Yeah, that's a scary situation.
There were some flyers walking out of the airport yesterday. None of the 221 passengers or 10 crew members on that international flight were injured in the collision.
I fly a lot for work, so I still feel like you have a better chance of getting hit by lightning than actually getting hurt in an airplane, but there's more than I would like to see right now in terms of air travel crashes or accidents happening.
He's right about that. The crash is under investigation. And while we're at Newark Airport, A flyer was detained there over the weekend after an incident on board a United Airlines flight that was coming in from the Dominican Republic. Port Authority police received a call. This was about 6 p.m. on Saturday night about an unruly passenger on board United Flight 1837 as it arrived at Newark from the Dominican Republic.
That's pretty scary.
Yeah, that's a scary situation.
Police, okay, that's the wrong tape, but police detained a 48-year-old man at the gate. He was taken to the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation. There were 170 passengers, 6 crew members on that Boeing 737. Now, one person was apparently injured. We don't know all the details of that, but he refused medical attention at Newark Airport. 5:05. If you're in northern New Jersey, you likely smelled the smoke. Maybe it smelled like burning plastic. This was late yesterday. It was from a fire that was raging into late last night in Belleville, in a warehouse. So the fire broke out. This is about 3 in the afternoon. Spread rapidly. It reached 11 alarms. The strong winds, when there were really strong winds yesterday, this pushed the flames from the warehouse off Cortlandt Street to multiple buildings nearby. So it was a mattress factory that originally caught fire. That might be why you were smelling some of what almost smelled like a plastic smell. When I went to walk the dog at about 5:30 last night, it was strong. I felt like the fire was in my neighborhood. Did not realize it was in Belleville. Thick smoke filled the sky, visible for miles. The Belleville mayor, Michael Mellon, declared a state of emergency. The industrial building houses a mattress warehouse as well as a textile manufacturing business. We did hear last night from the Belleville Township Councilman Frank Velez. Gave us the latest update what was going on.
I heard some pops and I saw the smoke, and I received many calls from throughout the area, and like many Belleville residents, I went to see, and it was truly horrific.
Yeah, so the fire sent chunks of debris, ash, sparks into the sky as the gusty wind fanned the flames. Now, they were still fighting this as of early this morning, still dumping water onto it. The entire block, people said it looked like it just melted and collapsed. Not clear what started this thing, but neighbors were told, the ones nearby this building, to evacuate their homes. Others were being told to close their windows and stay inside.
Chemicals such as helium have been mentioned, and that would contribute to the fire, to the blaze, and how extreme it's been. Your health is first, and we don't want anybody getting caught in a place where they don't need to be and exposed to more smoke than they need to.
Yeah, so the fire, again, could be seen for miles. An update we got earlier this morning, this was about 1 a.m. Belleville public schools will be closed today due to that massive fire. Just tells you how big it was. WABC News Time, 5:09. The NYPD investigating after a teenage mob trashed the Times Square location of the Church of Scientology over the weekend.
Police say 50 teens wearing masks and hoodies stormed the Scientology church on West 46th Street in the heart of Manhattan's Theater District, breaking in through a locked door. They were seen running and laughing while kicking a security guard and vandalizing the church, smashing tables and chairs while worshipers were in a seminar. The church, based in Los Angeles, says it's part of a disturbing nationwide social media trend called Scientology speedrunning. I'm Sarah Lee Kessler.
Yeah, and we'll get more into that dopey TikTok trend coming up after 5:30. A 22-year-old pleading not guilty now to the murder of 2 women at 2 different locations on Long Island.
Nassau police say Roni Yahir Alvarenga Rivera's motive was anger, but would not elaborate. Cops say one victim was his 42-year-old co-worker at an Island Park Wendy's, and he stabbed her to death as she was taking out the garbage. Police say hours before, he had fatally stabbed a 32-year-old woman at a building in Valley Stream where they both rented bedrooms. Investigators say the suspect was arrested after telling cops he had stabbed someone that night. Meantime, investigators say Alvarenga Rivera came to the U.S. illegally from El Salvador when he was 12 and has no known gang connections. In New York, I'm Lisa Salvati.
5:10, a couple dozen flights to and from California were the first to be canceled by Spirit Airlines as it went out of business over the weekend. Imagine you have tickets on a flight, you're trying to get home or somewhere, and you get to the airport only to find out there's no flights at all and never will be.
We have kids to get home too, so
It's delaying us from being home with our kids.
Yeah, all kinds of people stranded. That woman trying to get from LAX to New Orleans after Spirit officially ceased operations. This was early Saturday morning, about 2 a.m. They put something up on their website. Spirit said if you had a flight with them, there will be none and that your ticket would be refunded. But of course, if you're in mid-flight or about to take one, it gets all kind of complicated.
I mean, nobody's there, and I'm kind of confused. I'm not going to talk to an AI to figure out what I needed to do. I need to talk to a human.
Yeah, so the sudden collapse of Spirit impacting thousands of employees, thousands more travelers. The discount carrier announcing that it will cease. They tried to get a deal for a government bailout, but that did not work out. And so now there's no longer Spirit Airlines.
I don't know what to do. Other than waiting, I don't know what to do. There is not even a person that can give you updates. So, the Spirit people are not here.
Yeah, so American Airlines, Delta among the carriers that are offering reduced fares and other support for those Spirit customers that were impacted by the sudden closure. But of course, there's only so many people they can fly because they got their own flights that are heading out.
I mean, I've been flying Spirit for years, and they've always been good to us. That's why we choose them. However, this could have been handled. Like I said, this could have been handled way better.
Yeah, so I flew Spirit for the very first time. How strange is this? Like 2 weeks ago, I had been told terrible things, or at least heard terrible things about them for years. But I had only one or two options to fly home with. I was with my son. We were visiting Charleston, South Carolina. To fly home, it was Spirit. It was it worked out perfectly to go into Newark Airport. So I was like, okay. And I begrudgingly bought a ticket. But my experience was great on them. But apparently not enough people were taking Spirit. You know, when it first started offering those low-cost fares, it was huge. They were raking in the money. But apparently over the last couple of years, that was not the case. Here's Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who was pointing the fingers towards the Biden administration after the shutdown of Spirit. You know, they tried to make a deal, Spirit did, with JetBlue, but the Biden administration sunk that deal.
Spirit tried to merge with JetBlue. The Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg administration and DOJ tanked that deal. Immediately after that, they filed for bankruptcy. They were having financial problems. They filed for bankruptcy again last year. They were bleeding money.
Yes, so over the weekend, Duffy was thanking the other airlines who were chipping in to try to get these flyers where they needed to be.
I'm proud of the American Airlines that have stepped up to take care of the passengers of Spirit, making sure they can get home. The employees of Spirit have special access to apply for jobs with other American airlines.
So what that means is Spirit does not have airplanes in the air flying as of this morning. Also, their call centers are closed, and they don't have staff at ticket counters.
Yes, can you imagine what a loss you were at if you were one of those people who had a ticket over the weekend, or you had summer plans where you'd bought tickets on Spirit? At least, though, in that case, you have time to buy other ones. So Delta is rumored now to be seeking a $2 billion bailout, though no official word from Delta themselves, but that's one of the rumors this morning. 5:14, direct flights between the U.S. and Venezuela taking place again after a 7-year pause. Correspondent George Solis reports the first such flight, operated by American Airlines, took off from Miami, arrived in Caracas, and now it's going to become a regular thing.
The most visible sign yet of a rapid diplomatic thaw following the ouster of Venezuela's authoritarian leader, Nicolas Maduro, in January. The U.S. ban on direct air travel, in place since 2019, was officially lifted just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so the Department of Transportation says now that the relations between the two countries have improved, Miami to Caracas will be a daily route.
In South Florida, the heart of the Venezuelan diaspora, some are still cautious. Venezuela remains under the control of acting President Delcy Rodriguez, who served as Maduro's right hand for years, and hundreds of political prisoners remain behind bars.
Yeah, but we saw those flights going back and forth over the weekend. In a moment, we'll head overseas where there's a search underway for 2 U.S. service members missing in Morocco. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Monday. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Happy Monday. Good morning to you, Noam Layden. Start with a look ahead tonight. 8 p.m. tip-off at MSG. Knicks welcoming in the Philadelphia 76ers. 76ers after they took care of the Boston Celtics on, Saturday night in a big-time Game 7 there. So the Knicks will meet the 76ers in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Game 1 tonight. Knicks heading in as 7.5-point favorites. Also tonight, Western Conference semifinals getting underway between the Timberwolves and the Spurs out in San Antonio. That's a 9:30 p.m. start tonight. San Antonio, they're 13.5-point favorites in Game 1. Last night on the hardwood, the Pistons beating the Magic 116-94 out in Detroit. That was a Game 7 there, so Detroit wins that series 4-3. They'll meet the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference semifinals beginning tomorrow night after the Cavaliers beat the Raptors last night 114-102 out in Cleveland to win that series 4-3. Let's head to the Diamond in the Bronx. Jason Dominguez hit a 2-run homer and an RBI single in a 7-run eighth inning, and the Yankees routed the Orioles 11-3 for their 13th win in 15 games, securing another series victory and taking the first 3 games of a 4-game set. Aaron Judge tied for the Major League lead with his 13th home run. Ben Rice also homered, but left with a bruised left hand. X-rays were negative following the game. Max Fried pitched 5 1/3 innings, while Fernando Cruz earned the win in relief. Shortstop Anthony Volpe completed his rehab assignment, but was optioned to AAA due to Jose Caballero's strong performance at shortstop. Volpe's free agency eligibility could be delayed a year if he remains in the minors for 20 days. Tough call for manager Aaron Boone there, with Caballero playing great defense and contributing with the bat as well. So the Yankees leave Volpe down in AAA. In Los Angeles, Mark Vientos hit 2 homers and drove in 4 runs when right-hander Clay Holmes allowed 1 run in 6 2/3 innings, and the Mets beat the Angels 5-1. Holmes allowed 4 hits with 3 walks and 6 strikeouts as the Mets took 2 of 3 games from the Angels and won a series for just a second time since April 7th. They used Bo Bichette at shortstop one day after Ronnie Mauricio fractured his left thumb and was placed on the injured list. Shortstop Francisco Lindor also is on the IL with a calf strain. Up next for the Mets, New York has not named a starter for their series opener against the Rockies tonight, set for a 5:40 p.m. first pitch from Colorado. That is your Sports Noah, man. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:19. A search has been underway all weekend for 2 U.S. service members missing in southwestern Morocco.
The U.S. Africa Command says the 2 were reported missing on Saturday while taking part in a joint military exercise called African Lion involving U.S. forces, NATO allies, and African partner nations. According to a statement from AFRICOM, the incident remains under investigation and the Army's focus is on those involved and their families. I'm Lisa Carton.
While we're overseas, Iran says it did receive a response from the U.S. on its latest peace proposal.
Iranian state media reported Sunday that the U.S. had conveyed its response via Pakistan and that Tehran was reviewing it. It comes after Trump said in a post on Truth Social on Saturday that he would be reviewing the plan, but he couldn't imagine it will be acceptable because they have not yet paid a big enough price for what they've done to humanity. Iran's 14-point plan reportedly called for lifting the naval blockade of Iranian ports, among other provisions. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Yeah, we did hear from the president over the weekend about the war in Iran. He was down in Florida speaking to a couple different groups. Says the stock market is booming despite the war with Iran. He spoke to a crowd here. This was, I think, in southern Florida.
You ever hear a situation where we're knocking the hell out of somebody and we have a Congress, please, you've only got 3 days left.
He's talking about the war's resolution, war powers resolution. Friday was the 60-day mark for the war powers resolution, which says U.S. forces must be removed from a conflict if Congress hasn't authorized the war. The president was talking about that.
They used the Hormuz Strait as a weapon for many, many years. They said they'll close it. So they closed it, then I closed it on them.
Yeah, so the president also emphasizing his stance on Iran's nuclear program, which he said they should never have.
You cannot give Iran a nuclear weapon. It's all, I think, because they would use it on a place called Israel.
The war has meant rising gas prices with no end in sight right now. This woman owns a food truck. She says she's doing everything she can right now not to pass on those gas prices to her customers.
It happened overnight. We woke up and we're like, ouch. Just, doing my best behind the scenes, like the Wizard of Oz, not to pass the prices on to the customer.
Other food truck owners say they're battling the same problem.
After avoiding it for as long as I possibly could, we were about a quarter tank left. I filled up this truck and it was about $120. So that's we're gonna sell a lot of sandwiches today, though, and hopefully make some of that back.
Yeah, and a painful gas milestone. One California county has hit $7 for a gallon of regular.
Walker Country Store.
Jody Lease works at the Walker Country Store in Mono County, home to the highest gas prices in the country.
I hate it. Gas is way too high. Just ridiculous.
Gas at her store on the eastern edge of California between Mammoth and Lake Tahoe hasn't hit $7 just yet, but some stations nearby.
They're like almost $8 a gallon, I think.
She and others will drive to Nevada to fill up.
It's about 35 miles.
The savings are worth it, but even with the high prices, she says she'll never leave her little slice of heaven.
You can go anywhere here, hiking, fishing.
I'm Jason Nathanson.
Can you imagine $7 for a gallon of gas? Jeez. President Trump indicating the U.S. may order more troop movements after pulling 5,000 soldiers out of Germany. He was asked by reporters Saturday why the Pentagon is planning the withdrawal.
We're going to cut way down, and we're cutting a lot further than 5,000.
Yes, a Pentagon officials say the pullout from Germany comes after President Trump was angered by the German chancellor criticizing the war with Iran. Chancellor Merz recently told a group of high school students that Americans obviously have no strategy in Iran. He also compared the war to previous conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq, and the president didn't like that much. 523, Senator Ted Cruz spoke about gas prices, the war in Iran, public safety during a campaign cash swing in California over the weekend. He tied rising gas prices toward the war with Iran, saying the conflict in the region puts pressure on global energy markets and drivers feel it fast, especially in California.
When President Trump came in and a Republican Congress came in, gas prices dropped in half to about $3 a gallon. What has happened with the war is they've risen about halfway back up. So they're about $4.50.
He also talked about the attempted assassination of President Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
One of the things we need to do is just ratchet down the violence, just ratchet down the rhetoric, not constantly demonize each other. Neither side is Adolf Hitler, and it is not helpful. There absolutely needs to be a review. There is cause for concern.
And then over the weekend, U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro, says the accused gunman at the White House Correspondents' Dinner is also responsible for shooting a Secret Service officer. Now, we didn't know that until yesterday. Appearing on CNN State of the Union, Pirro said Cole Allen had every intention of killing anyone who got in the way of his attempt to shoot the president.
This was a premeditated, violent act calculated to take down the president and anyone who was in the line of fire.
Court documents show Allen was armed with a shotgun, pistol, and knives when he raced towards the Hilton Ballroom where the president was seated at that event.
He hit at that Secret Service agent. He had every intention to kill him and anyone who got in his way, on his way to the killing the president of the United States.
Allen facing federal charges, including attempting to assassinate the president. He'll remain held until his trial. 525. Oregon police investigating the death of a man who plowed a car packed with explosives into a Portland social club.
Authorities say the unidentified driver died in Saturday's crash, and bomb squads were sent to the scene to defuse the explosives. Portland Police Chief Bob Day.
With the best of information we have right now, that this, once again, is an isolated event, not related to domestic terrorism.
Officials believe the driver was a disgruntled former employee of the Multnomah Athletic Club and that his vehicle was packed with explosive devices, including propane tanks and pipe bombs. I'm Lisa Carton.
526, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche says the indictment into James Comey isn't solely about the former FBI director's social media posts. Blanche making the comments on an appearance on NBC's Meet the Press yesterday.
This is not just about a single Instagram post. This is about a body of evidence that the grand jury collected over the series of about 11 months.
It comes after Comey posted a photo last year of seashells on a beach arranged to form the numbers 8647. The president took aim at the former FBI director over the post, telling reporters 86 is used by mob bosses when they're ordered to assassinate an associate.
Without a doubt, and it should be evident by the fact that it's been 11 months since the posting and the indictment, there is an investigation that takes place. And that's the result. The result of that investigation is the indictment that was returned last week.
Now, Comey surrendered after he was charged last week for threatening the president's life. He does have Democrats who are coming to his defense. One of them, Senator Adam Schiff, speaking out against the indictment over the weekend.
I think this case is likely to be thrown out even before it goes to a jury. It will absolutely be thrown out by the jury. Only facts that distinguish this case from those people buying things on Amazon or posting things on Amazon is not any particular facts that are not visible to the public. It's the fact that James Comey is a political opponent of the president.
We'll hear more on this case during the course of this week.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Monday, May 4th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sunshine today, high 72. Though we're going to see some winds that are up to 30 miles per hour. Tonight and overnight, a few passing clouds, low 59, and even better for tomorrow. Sunshine warmer, high 82. If you are walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 45, partly cloudy in Valley Cottage up in Rockland. It's 48 and clear in Colts Neck over in New Jersey. And it's 46 and clear right outside our Midtown studio. WABC News Time 541. A mob of rowdy teenagers stormed a Big Apple Scientology church on Saturday afternoon, trashing the property, injuring a security guard, amid what is a nationwide rash of similar viral social media stunts with these kids running into Church of Scientology centers across the country. In this case, this one in Times Square over the weekend was probably about 50 youths that barreled through this locked side door of the church. That's the one that sits right off Times Square at 46th Street. It's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They damaged the premises while worshipers, visitors were attending a seminar. They also kicked a 30-year-old man believed to be a security guard who was walloped in the leg, apparently has some minor injuries.
I didn't want to pass by too close to them. My instincts were to literally cross the street.
No, I told the bartender there to close the doors.
You were worried?
No, of course. I was worried for her, because she's by herself.
Yeah, those were some eyewitnesses who watched this group run into the church. They didn't know what they were up to, so they were telling people, anybody with a store nearby, shut the door so these teens don't rampage into your place. So these teens who, it's this act, it's almost stupid to think, but anyway, it's called speed running. It's this new trend on TikTok. I have to say it's shown up in my feed a few times, and it's initially apparently started at the Scientology location, the downtown one in Los Angeles. In this one over the weekend, they hurled a racial slur apparently at a staffer. They were running and laughing. They were breaking up chairs and tables, throwing books on the ground, just vandalizing the church. I mean, it's really outrageous.
They came out with a fire extinguisher. They blew up the front with smoke. I got little kids. They could be get in the middle of one of these kids. Who knows? And these kids, they're not thinking anymore.
Now, police would not address the motive for the attack, but the Church of Scientology, which is based in Los Angeles, said they believe this is part of that recent viral trend. Some online have referred to the incidents as speed running. In reality, they involve organized trespasses into religious institutions set to destroy them. I mean, this should be treated just like running in and out of a synagogue or a mosque or a church. These rabble-rousers should be found and arrested for what they did. Now, the question is, will that happen?
Kids being stupid, making bad decisions, getting into trouble, and trying to get away with it.
This is bigger than kids being stupid. They know exactly what they're doing. The Scientology, if you're not familiar with it, was this religion found in the 1950s by science fiction author L. Ron Hubbard, built on a systems of beliefs, teachings, and rituals which are focused on spiritual betterment. And it's his book, Dianetics. I'm sure you've heard of that. That is essentially their Bible. But the church says it's cooperating with the NYPD as they investigate Saturday's incident. That continues. We reached out to the NYPD for official word how they'll treat this crime, and we haven't heard back from them. But, right? I mean, am I wrong about this? They should treat this like a group of kids running into a church, a synagogue, or a mosque should be treated 100% the same way. We'll see if that ends up being the case. In a moment, we'll head out to Long Island, where there are a ton of homeowners who had spent all kinds of money to have their kitchens redone, and now they're totally screwed. We'll get into that story in just a moment. But first, 5:45, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Ella.
Thank you, Noah Maladen. Sports sponsored by Pete Morgan and Peerless Boilers. Go to peerlessboilers.com to find a dealer near you. Peerless Boilers, the world's best built boilers. Look ahead to an 8 p.m. tip-off tonight, Game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Our Knicks welcoming in the Philadelphia 76ers after Philly took care of Boston over the weekend. Knicks 7.5-point favorites heading into Game 1 there. Also tonight, the Western Conference semifinals between the Timberwolves and the Spurs getting underway out in San Antonio. That's a 9:30 p.m. start. San Antonio, they're 13.5-point favorites. On the hardwood last night, your final from Detroit saw the Pistons beat the Magic 116-94 in Game 7 there. Detroit wins that series 4-3. They'll meet the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference semifinals beginning tomorrow night after the Cavs took care of the Raptors last night 114-102 in Game 7 of that Eastern Conference first round series. Cleveland winning that set 4-3. Let's head to the Diamond in the Bronx. Jason Dominguez hit a 2-run homer and an RBI single in a 7-run eighth, and the Yankees routed the Orioles 11-3 for their 13th win in 15 games, securing another series victory in taking the first 3 games of a 4-game set. Aaron Judge tied for the Major League lead with his 13th home run. Ben Rice also homered, but left with a bruised left hand. X-rays were negative following the game. Max Fried pitched 5 1/3 innings, while Fernando Cruz earned the win in relief. Shortstop Anthony Volpe did complete his rehab assignment, but was optioned to Triple-A due to Jose Caballero's strong performance at shortstop. Volpe's free agency eligibility could be delayed a year if he remains in the minors for 20 days or more. So we'll keep a close eye on that. In Los Angeles, Mark Vientos hit 2 homers and drove in 4 runs, and right-hander Clay Holmes allowed 1 run in 6 2/3 innings. And the Mets beat the Angels 5-1. Holmes allowed 4 hits, 3 walks, and 6 strikeouts as the Mets took 2 of 3 games from the Angels and won a series for just the second time since April 7th. He's Bo Bichette at shortstop 1 day after Ronnie Mauricio fractured his left thumb and was placed on the injured list. Shortstop Francisco Lindor also is on the IL with a calf strain. Up next for the Mets, New York has not named a starter for their series opener against the Rockies tonight, set for a 5:40 p.m. first pitch from Colorado. Sports sponsored by Pete Morgan and Peerless Boilers. Go to peerlessboilers.com and find a dealer near you. Peerless Boilers, the world's best built of boilers. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:50. Let's go out to Long Island, where homeowners there still reeling after Wren Kitchens abruptly filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy last week, leaving thousands of customers without products or renovations they paid for. And there's not much clarity on what will happen next for them. Among them is a family from Center Reach. It is Danielle and Pete McHale. They're telling News 12 they handed over about $18,000 to this company for a full kitchen remodel that never materialized. A bank check for more than $16,000 was accepted by Wren on April 11th, just a couple days before the company shut down operations.
They had to know they were heading towards bankruptcy at that time, and they were cashing people's checks, taking their money, and it was actually theft.
Yeah, so the list of people owed money spans more than 2,500 pages. It includes customers from nearly every community on Long Island. Many had already demolished their existing kitchens or were mid-renovation when the company collapsed. Can you imagine this? And now they have to go somewhere else, and in some cases probably don't have the money to do so because they had already paid rent.
I feel bad for us, but I feel bad for everybody and all the other families that are going through this right now.
They took our money and basically ran.
Yeah, so former customers will have an opportunity to confront the company directly. A court-ordered Zoom meeting is scheduled for May 20th, during which a Wren Kitchens representative will be required to answer questions under oath. Now, the question is, will these people get their money back? We don't know. But in the meantime, it is not a good situation, especially for people who just run through and knocked out their kitchens. 5:52. Up in Greenberg in Westchester over the weekend, a candlelight vigil to mourn the 3 family members who died in what police call a murder-suicide. A dad, 76-year-old Robert Watson, his daughter, Sharika Johnson, and her 23-year-old son, Jaden, were found dead with gunshot wounds at the Parkway Homes Road home. Now, lots of people knew this family well.
This family meant a lot to all of us. I went to school with Jaden. My dad went to school with his mom. We've lived in this neighborhood forever. So, just being here means everything.
And we found out over the weekend, I guess if you can call this lucky, if there's anything lucky about this story, Sharika Johnson's 14-year-old son, Jordan, he was at school at the time of the shooting. So now, of course, he has to deal with the fact that one of the family members turned the gun on the other.
We've always stuck together no matter what has happened in this community. And we've been there for one another. And we continue to do so, as you can plainly see.
There's a lot of pain right now. There's a lot of confusion. And one of the things that you don't want to happen is for people to feel like they're alone. And then when you feel like a community, you come together like a community, you act like a community.
Yeah, so police investigators asking anybody with information on this case to call the Greenberg police. Over to New Jersey, where a 20-year-old is under arrest in connection to that deadly shooting inside a Chick-fil-A there.
Shahid Fields is facing charges including murder and attempted murder. The New York Post reports Fields looked unfazed in an orange jumpsuit as he pleaded not guilty during a virtual court hearing. Prosecutors say Fields entered the Chick-fil-A on Route 22 in Union around 9 p.m. April 11th and opened fire, killing a 23-year-old man and wounding 6 others in what was a targeted shooting. Witnesses had said a group of men in masks stormed the restaurant and fired shots, but prosecutors didn't reveal if more arrests are on the way. I'm Lisa Salvati.
Path fares are going up this morning and it'll now cost $3.25 to ride. That's a 25-cent increase. The Port Authority says the hike is funding some upgrades. Starting May 17th, all lines will run 7 days a week for the first time in nearly 25 years. Plus, there'll be more frequent service on some of those lines. So when people hear that, some say, okay, I'll pay 25 cents more for that. Others say, no, I don't want a fare hike.
I feel like it just continues to go up, and it's been more of a problem, progressively.
I know on the weekends the subways in the path don't run as well. So, obviously, if it's improving that'll be great.
Come on, just keep it cheap, keep it how it is. It doesn't need to. Doesn't need to increase.
Yeah, I think that PATH train is still the best bargain out there at $3.25. But the fare will increase each year now by 25 cents until 2029 when it reaches $4 for a ride. A 48-year-old undergoing a psychiatric evaluation after being taken into custody at Newark Airport over the weekend.
Port Authority police received a report just after 6 p.m. Saturday about an altercation on board a United Airlines flight from the Dominican Republic. CBS 2 reports the pilot told air traffic control a man had attacked a flight attendant and tried to open the main cabin door. The man was detained at the gate after the plane landed. FAA officials say airlines have reported nearly 500 incidents involving unruly passengers so far this year. I'm Larry Kofsky.
And we'll end with this story. The last time the 76ers hosted the Knicks in the playoffs, Joel Embiid, who is the star center for the team, said that the Wells Fargo Arena felt like they were playing in Madison Square Garden East because so many Knicks fans had bought tickets for the Sixers game that they filled a lot of the seats there. So when the Sixers over the weekend won Game 7 over the Celtics, he told Sixers fans, don't sell your tickets to Knicks fans for the home games, which are 3 and 4 in Philly.
Just have a message for our fans. Last time we played the Knicks, it felt like this was Madison Square Garden East. So we're going to need the support. Don't sell your tickets. If you need money, I got you.
Yeah, so to take this even further, this is how crazy. They can't sell out the Wells Fargo for a Sixers game. Just the fans aren't there. So now in an effort to ensure the atmosphere at the arena is for Sixers fans, they will keep New York fans out of South Philly by restricting who can buy tickets for Game 3, 4, and 6 during this round 2. So apparently you'd have to prove some form of residency to show that you can buy tickets. Now, that won't hold true for the second secondary market so people could still sell their tickets. But fans say, okay, well, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do.
Love it. Let's get all these Knicks fans out of here. New Yorkers, no way. We're at the Xfinity Center. This is Philly.
I don't think it's a great idea because it's always like you want the playoff environment to be like mainly home fans, but still like away fans should be there because it makes it more of like it like more of a game.
No,
like it doesn't feel the same.
No. You want all home fans. So we'll see if this works. Right now, when we went on to the secondary market where you don't have to prove that you're a Sixers fan, tickets are anywhere from $300 to $1,000.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
The Marine Toys for Tots foster care program is bringing hope to children who need it most. Every 2 minutes, a child enters foster care, often with only a small bag of belongings. More than 400,000 children face trauma and uncertainty, many before age 8. This May, during Foster Care Awareness Month, Toys for Tots is creating Room for Joy. In 2025, nearly 375,000 children received comfort through toys, books, and essentials, reminding them they are not alone. Donate now and change a child's life.